Welcome back to Good Morning Football. If you follow me on Twitter or you watch our show, GMFB, then you know how I feel about Miles Sanders in 2020. I feel like I'm a fortune teller. I just know he's going to work out. Just like I know that with more on the Eagles, James Palmer has perfectly done up hair, minimal gel right now, minimal product, like maybe like a light blue undershirt, a blue jacket that's a little deeper. Am I right?
Since the end of last season, the Eagles have had a specific vision about how they want their offense to evolve. You can see it in that they've gotten faster at the skill positions, and also they've made 6 different changes to their offensive coaching staff. They believe they weren't explosive enough. They weren't pushing the football downfield. Carson Wentz was getting hit too much, and they were simply a drop-back team. They'd like to evolve it in the fact that he can roll out more, throw the screen game out there, play action, do things that where Wentz can take less hits and play a full 16 games. And that's where the importance of running back Miles Sanders is in his sophomore season. He believes he's going to have an MVP year and isn't scared to tell anybody the fact. In his rookie season, where he split time with Jordan Howard for half the year, he still managed over 800 yards rushing and over 500 yards receiving. The Eagles believe there is nothing Sanders can't do and look for him to take a massive jump in year 2.
4 touchdowns over the last 4 games, 125 yards a game in that time, a game in that time as well in those last 4 weeks of the season. So he's the guy in Philly. Who's the guy in the NFC East, though, this season, Triggs?
First of all, shout out to James Palmer for the Randall Cunningham starting lineup over his left shoulder in that shot. That was fantastic. But I'm going to go with another quarterback. It's Dak Prescott, most important player in the entire league right now, I think, because we don't know what the future is. If this thing drags on, it can cast a cloud over the entire season for the Dallas Cowboys. There was so much optimism going into the last few weeks after the draft when you get a CD Lamb and you add all these pieces, and yet the deal is not done. Dak had a horrible tragedy that he suffered from draft week. You know, his brother passes away, and I can only imagine the internal issues that he's going through trying to overcome that loss. You add that to the actual professional and football career, to what's going on in his life as a football player, and there's so much turmoil probably going on right now in his own head that I would love to see Dak rise above, get paid, and lead the Cowboys and America's team to one of these fantastic seasons. He's that good a player. He's that good a young man. I just wonder if Dak can go either way on this season based on the contract stuff. And if it isn't settled by the time the season starts, how does that cast a whole shadow over the entire Cowboy season, which is a roster built to win now?
Yeah, I want to remind all the football fans that there's 4 teams in each division, because when we talk about the NFC East, it's the Cowboys, the Eagles, and we're going to talk about New York because it's the Giants, and they're here in New York. What about the Washington Redskins? And I'm not going to give you a player. I'll give you a coach, Ron Rivera. I feel like he's the most important person within this division because he's going to come in and he's going to bring stability. Ron Rivera is a disciplinarian. He's going to challenge his team. He's going to challenge the guys that are the most important pieces. We're familiar with how he ran things when he's in Carolina. You remember when he benched Cam Newton because he didn't wear a tie? It kind of shocked everybody, but when you really think about it, that was more of him making a point than it was him taking a shot at his star player. And he's going to do the same thing with Dwayne Haskins. He's going to ask him to do more and be more. And on the defensive side, they got Jonathan Allen. They drafted Chase Young, Deron Payne. They got Montez Sweat. So they're young, and when they break the sweat, they're going to bring the pain. I feel like they have all the pieces, and that number one piece is Ron Rivera.
I think Ron Rivera is the best decision that the Redskins have made in over 20 years, and I'm not exaggerating, but I still think the equalizer in the entire NFC East is the quarterback for the Eagles. I think it's Carson Wentz. I think when Carson Wentz is right and healthy, I think the Eagles roll. He's absolutely fantastic. And guys, since we started doing this show in quarantine, I've not taken more heat for anything I've said or opinion than when I had the audacity to say I'd rather have Carson Wentz than Deshaun Watson going into this season. It was treated like an act of war online. It's nothing against Watson. Deshaun Watson just lost his best receiver. He was traded away. I think it's fair. And I also think there's some of this things with Carson Wentz where people are annoyed with him getting hurt. And I don't know, there's a sort of intangible factor where maybe he's not that cool and he doesn't do the cool spin move in the playoffs. And maybe he's just about football and his family and his dogs and God. I don't know if he's ever trending on Twitter, but, Peyton Manning wasn't that cool of a guy. Joe Montana wore LA Gear sneakers. He wasn't that cool. He was a great player and a great leader, and I would rather have Wentz than Deshaun Watson. No slight to Watson. I just think Wentz is good, and when he's right and when he's upright, the NFC East is a walkaway. It's Philly.
Wow.
Well said. And speaking of the NFC East, guys, friend of the show, super friend of the show, and former Eagles long snapper John Dorenbos. We all know his story, the hardships, the adversity. Well, he has an inspiring new documentary. We want you guys to take a look.
I don't think there's ever a time in your life that you're prepared to hear the news that you've lost your parents.
We find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree.
We all go through stuff, baby, but then in that moment right there, we decide, are we people of vision or are we people of circumstance?
If I had to put it in one sentence, it's that life doesn't care. And it's what we do with that. Are we going to be victims, or are we going to find the positive so we can live a happy life?
We've met him. We've had him on the
John
show.
Dorenbos has an
Kyle, I
incredible
cannot
story.
wait to see this documentary.
Yeah, and neither can I. John Dorenbos, incredible football life, incredible actual life. It's so ironic because as a long snapper, your whole existence is about just don't make any noise, don't mess this up. The only reason we hear your name is if you mess up. And yet John Dorenbos has willed himself to incredible things through incredible tragedy. It's referenced there in the promo, what he went through with the murder and from his father to his mother and it being adopted, and an unbelievable thing that he did where he found magic to get him through that tragedy. And we all saw him on America's Got Talent advance and advance and advance. And he didn't do that because he was the Eagles' long snapper or because he's one of many, many people in the world who does magic. He did it through the strength of his personality and his charisma. He was one of the first guests that we had on Good Morning Football way back in 2016, a long snapper for the Eagles. And he was unbelievably good, talking about being the longest tenured player they had at the time. What was it like to play with Michael Vick, Carson Wentz, Kevin Kolb, you name it. He's done it all. He's seen it all. And some of the things he's seen are absolutely horrible. If you don't know the John Dorenbos story, or even if you do not want to miss it. I know I'll be there, and we will be too.
And he's got a book, of course, you can pick up as well. Hopefully we'll have him on the show to talk more about this new documentary. More Good Morning Football on the way. We'll talk defenses. We have Juju Smith-Schuster on the show. It is a Friday, and we are feeling it. We're going to break down the must-see TV defenses of 2020 next.